on this computer. Sorry about that. Okay, rewind.
All right. So my name is Amanda Boyd. I am based in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for 13 years, and I've worked in healthcare for 23 years, so pretty much all my life. I'm the mother of 5, and I decided to transition into the Salesforce ecosystem seriously about 6 months ago. Been, fiddling with it for a couple years. So I'm excited to be able to talk to Yoruba today, who is a QA tester at, I'm going to say, Booz Allen Hamilton. I had to make sure I said that right. And I'm excited that I get the opportunity to speak with her today. So thank you. So let's just jump right in. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the role at your current job?
Yes, I am originally, well, first, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for, you could be anywhere in the world, like Hong Kong, and you're here with me. So that means a lot. And I'm from the Virgin Islands, St. Croix, and my first introduction to healthcare field, basically, my sister was a type 1 diabetic. So I kind of used to help check her numbers, which was a lot on someone that's just a teenager. So I know that I wanted to do healthcare, but I didn't want to do too hands-on. So from high school, I went and joined the military. I was in the Air Force for at least 8 years, traveled the world. It was kind of hard for me to get a job because we're always moving every 2-3 years. So just moving around, doing medical administration type of jobs. I was even a realtor, just anything that I could just have something in my resume as a spouse. We've been living North Dakota, South Carolina, South Korea, you're just constantly moving. So finally, my husband decided to retire after 20 years, and we decided to stay in San Antonio. And that's when I decided, I need to get my career started. So I started applying, and I got into a Amerivis program, which is for military spouses. And that kind of helped me a lot. I did put it in my resume that I wanted a course, and then from there it just went quick. And then I got into Accenture Federal. That was interesting. I did 3 years there, just kind of thrown into the Salesforce platform. My husband told me about it, and I said, IT, I'm nervous about that. I don't see a lot of Black women in IT. So I didn't know if I was even capable of doing that. But he said, you need to kind of check it out. I think it's something for you. And so I kind of did. And the meeting that I had for Salesforce, I was like, oh my goodness, I could do this. And I haven't gotten the cert yet, but I just decided to take that course. I put it on my resume and I started getting hits. I worked on Accenture for 2 years. I'm currently now as a QA tester over in Booz Allen, and I'm really excited about that position.
Good. So tell us a little bit about your position there.
I'm a QA, which basically what we do the testing. We're on projects. I currently did 3 projects. We basically, anything on the Salesforce platform that the developers build, we have to test it out. And so once we moved over here in San Antonio, I just had more opportunities over here and I just applied. Booz Allen is a great company, but in order to get to it, what I had to do was kept networking, just kept talking to everyone, trying to get into the role, because I think that's the hardest part about getting into the Salesforce platform, just getting that experience. And so once I did, and once I kept talking to my fellow peers and just anybody in the Salesforce, that's how I got in. So just basically testing everything that's on the system. And just making sure that the developers have developed everything correctly.
All right. So I know you talked a little bit about your healthcare experience before you were here.
Yeah, just a little bit of medical administration. I worked in the Air Force, just a healthcare manager. I've also done medical referrals and at the front desk, so just anything kind of medical, but I did not want to do something too hands-on because, I don't know if it was just a lot dealing with my sister, but I knew that I wanted to help. So I just thought that, healthcare was just it for me. I didn't think outside the box that I could actually do IT. But then I realized, anytime we had a new program, it was easy for me to catch on to it. And so I just jumped into the IT field.
Yeah. So you've answered some of my questions already. So I'm rejuggling my questions around as you guys see me stumbling.
Okay, sorry.
So what were some of your challenges that you faced getting your first cert? I know you talked about the program you were at, and then you were at Accenture. So what were some of those challenges? And then did those programs help you get your cert?
Yes. The main problem that I had anytime I would talk to the recruiter, they just saw my resume and said, well, you didn't have the cert. So, we're looking for people with the cert. But I just knew that once I had the experience and the background to, help me through, that I would get in. And that's exactly what happened. Shouldn't let that deter you, but it did for a while. And once I got the experience and once I went to the Merivis program, that everything just kind of just fell into place. But it took a lot of networking. It took a lot of getting out of my, comfort zone and talking to people and just sleeping, breathing, eating Salesforce just every day. Even on the weekends, I would sit and I would do the trailheads every weekend. It was just constant. I just surrounded that energy. And once you start doing that, that's when everything's kind of started falling into place.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? I have a few more questions, but I see everybody shaking your heads. I don't know if you guys have any questions. Oh, okay. Let's see. How did you manage to be visible in front of the recruiters and the hiring managers? I know you talked about networking and you talked about the programs, but can you give us a deeper dive into how you got in front of those recruiters, how you landed at Accenture?
Yes. One thing I did, LinkedIn is a very good tool. So I just set my banner to available to work. And once I did that, and I just kind of kept putting Salesforce on my front page, just applying, just basically just breathing Salesforce. Once I started doing that, I started getting lots of hits. But again, the problem was, I didn't have the cert. But just from that, I just kind of opened doors. Again, I can't even tell you enough about that networking and how much that was beneficial for my growth.
So you get this first interview. Well, you're looking for a role. You're filling out applications. Tell me a little bit about that process for finding the roles, the applications, and were there any tests or assessments that you had to take for your roles?
Yes. So the one thing that I did was when I was applying, I started doing research about the Salesforce administration role because I wasn't getting any hits. So once I started researching, I realized that, they're kind of leaning more to Salesforce developers. They don't just want an administrator. They want people to do the background work. And I didn't have that experience. So I started looking and seeing what other avenue I could get into the Salesforce platform. And then I realized that, the developers, they're developing all these products and they probably need some testers. Once I started opening that door and started looking at Salesforce, the QA, that's when I really started getting hits. I did that program with Merivis and that was beneficial. I also went to Salesforce Saturdays. They have someone here in San Antonio. That helped too, because even if you don't know a lot, you're actually just talking to people and they're just giving you ideas. And the networking and I hated networking, but it was really beneficial to even trying to get a role. Once I got into Accenture, that's when things really started happening. It was just from the fire hose. They just kind of threw you in. So you had no choice but to sink or swim. So the interviews, I've been to other interviews. Once I did the 2 years over at Accenture, I decided, I wanted more growth. I was feeling a little stagnant. So I wanted more growth. So that's when things got kind of, scary because now there's a lot more technical and they're going to a lot of technical interviews. And I've had an interview, it was 4 different interviewers I had different times and for just one role. And it kind of helped me get the role for Booz Allen because I had to look up testing and see what testing was about. Then I looked up about Salesforce, see what that was about, and just made sure that I was prepared in all avenues. And that really helped me because I kind of stumbled with that. But because it was so hard, Booz Allen, when I did that interview, was a piece of cake.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, you just have to just surround yourself with just Salesforce, breathe, eat, everything Salesforce.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did your healthcare experience, your skills transfer into Salesforce, even like your skills, but even the language, like how did you transfer and what are some of those skills that transferred that helped you?
One of the things that I thought about when I was in healthcare is that how can I do IT? Because all I know is healthcare. All I've been knowing was healthcare. So how can I even transfer that to Salesforce? How can I even do that in IT? But when you think about all the skills that you have as in the medical field, which is just astronomical, you're like, oh my gosh, it's just as easy. Because, as in healthcare, you always have to have a positive attitude with all this, everything that you have to deal with. And when you look at IT, you have to be, it's all constantly learning. So you have to show that you're into it, you're willing to learn, you're excited about it, and that's when everything they kind of help you, and it shows that you're easy to work with and on these projects. Also with time management, that's really important as well. As you know, being in medical, which is hard, but you got to learn how to juggle, being with patients, dealing with paperwork, everything like that. Same thing with being in IT, you got to need to do time management because, you're testing something and then you get another call to test something else and then you're working long hours, sometimes trying to figure it out. So time management is very important and that can transfer into IT as well. You need to be flexible because a normal day I'll be testing something normal and then all of a sudden it breaks and it's just constant chaos. And that always happens in healthcare, dealing with patients, dealing with calls, just paperwork, stuff like that. So another thing, stress management, that's another thing that you deal with in healthcare that also you deal with in IT as well. So you kind of see, and I didn't even know that all these times that I was traveling around the world and I'm going from job to job, how all of that kind of helped me here in the IT world. And you could just see that being a healthcare, it just fits right in. If you can do healthcare and healthcare is very stressful, everything that deals with healthcare, IT is just easy. It is. It's like, oh my gosh, if I could deal with patients and deal with, angry patients and deal with people sick and, time management, it's like, this is a dream job for me.
So how did you adapt to your new Salesforce job? Like when you got so you went through, you were looking for the job, you got the interview, now you got the job. How did you adapt once you actually got into the role?
First, I had to realize that, I do belong here because again, I didn't see a lot of Black women in the field. I would be in meetings and I would be like the only tester. So I need to just have that mindset, that I belong, I can do this, and representation did matter. How did I adapt? I didn't always feel like I was the smartest in the room. So what I did to adapt is I would constantly ask questions. I would constantly talk to the dev. I would constantly talk to the PM, anything, just constantly ask questions. And people are willing to, open up and, teach you. And I didn't feel stupid. I just felt like, I just want to learn. And sometimes when I ask a question, it's something that the developer would be like, I didn't even think about that. Another thing that kind of helps, I'm always on websites, always shopping. So I know how the website is supposed to work. I know what is user friendly. If you can do stuff like that, you can definitely be a tester.
So what's your job like now? Are you remote? Are you hybrid? Are you full-time, part-time? Is the schedule flexible?
I am full-time remote. Before I was with Accenture, I was in the office, but then after COVID, it was fully remote. And love it. I do love it. It's just flexible. I have a family, I have 3 kids. So it's really flexible for me, and I'm full-time as well.
Do you find that being remote full-time is harder than it was for you to be in the office full-time? Because I've heard some differences between some admins saying, being in the office at least part of the time is more helpful than being fully remote. So how do you feel about that since you've done both?
I miss the people in action. It kind of gets lonely being constantly online. I did a project for 2 years and with like 8 individuals, and they didn't even have like a picture up. So I didn't even know how they looked for 2 whole years. Finally coming to the ending of the project, we had a meeting and it was so nice to actually see them. But I miss the people interaction of it all. But I don't miss the commute, and I don't miss the gas money. It's just not flexible to me online. But I know it is a blessing. Not everyone is capable of getting that.
So there's a question in the chat. It says, would you describe a typical day or week in your role?
Yes. This new role that I have, thank goodness, Accenture kind of prepared me for the role because I was in a high functioning team. We delivered 100% of the time constantly for 2 years. So it was very high functioning. So it deals with a lot in this role, multitasking. So a typical day in the morning, I'll have a morning meeting, and then we describe what we did yesterday to help reach this goal, what we're doing today, if we had any blockers, any impediments. From there, we just constantly start testing. The only issue I have right now with kind of learning everything, where we started off in sprint 29. So I have to kind of catch up from everything that they built from sprint 1 up to sprint 29. And then I'm learning how they do perform all their testing. So I'm just constantly like learning. I'm still in the learning phase right now. But after we start testing, then I think one of we'll have some certain meetings like the 508 testing, making sure that people that are blind, that can't see, they're able to perform everything on the platform. Other than that, it's mostly testing. It's like constantly we're doing a story. I'll get pulled from one side. I'll go to a demo for a developer. It's a rush. It really is.
So compared to your healthcare culture, what is the culture like working within the Salesforce ecosystem? Is there some good comparisons, not so good comparisons?
Again, what I do miss is interacting with people, and I love helping people. So, I would check in patients, I would talk to them, help them make sure they're seen. I kind of miss that. The culture now, though, the people that I work with, very laid back because, they're happy that they have a flexible position, and it's Salesforce is fun. It's not a hard platform to learn. So even if you don't understand something, the troubleshoot is just, honestly, I do love it. And I could say that the atmosphere over there in Booz Allen is great. And I've actually said the same thing with Accenture. Everyone's just happy to work, and the money's great too.
Yeah.
I want to put that in there too.
That always helps.
Yeah, so maybe that might be the reason why everyone's smiling over here. Let's be honest.
So what is your personal career growth trajectory from here? Like, what are the possibilities for your career from today on?
I'm even just thankful that I even have a seat at the table, to be honest. And it only goes up from here. What I have been doing, I've been going on LinkedIn. I've been helping some individuals still reach out to me, asking me about, the program, how did I get in? Because again, I need to get my cert, and I'm going to put time aside to get it. But it shouldn't be a deterrent of trying to jump into the Salesforce system. You just have to constantly be eating Salesforce every day. And I think my next career goal, other than assisting others trying to get into the Salesforce platform, is to see what else grow. I'm constantly growing. In 3 years, I doubled my salary, and I got to skip 2 promotions. So it's there. You just have to just keep grinding.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that motivation.
Yeah, it is. The hardest part is getting in. But once you get in, it's just like a whole new world. It's amazing. I'm so thankful I went that day and decided to go and jump into Salesforce. And I'm only glad I wish I did it earlier. But everything happens at its time.
I think we all kind of wish that we did it earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Because could you imagine 10 years of experience? So, yeah.
So what's a typical day in your life? Like from the time you get up, your family, to the time you go to bed, like what's that look like?
I need to step away from the computer because it's just so addictive helping and testing. So I need to do time management for that. But like in the morning, I get up, check on the dogs, make sure my husband's okay, and he's gonna be. He actually works right next to me. After that, we start the meeting. Coincidentally, all my coworkers, they're in California, so I have the luxury of kind of starting later. We start at 9:30 for our first meeting, so that's been great. Other than that, after the meeting is just constant testing, constant testing. I could easily, and that's why I was telling Lori that I need a treadmill, because I could easily sit here for 8 hours testing. There's always so much going on and just so many environments that we need to test in that, you know, I probably need to take some breaks. And that's the only downfall actually for working at home. You don't kind of set time for yourself. Like, okay, this is when I need to go for lunch. This is when I got to test this story. It's just constant. So I need to work better than that. Then currently, we've been testing a lot. So I've been working overtime a little this week and I need to cut back on that, but it's just a lot going on. And from there, I got to set aside for my family, you know, go pick up my daughter, take her to tutoring, and just basically it. And just next day, start all over again.
So what do you like the most about your job? Besides the money.
I was just going to say that. I love the feeling that I can actually do this because I didn't think I could do it. I thought that only healthcare was for me. I had done healthcare. My mom wanted to be a nurse. I helped with my sister as a diabetic, healthcare. I didn't even think that, you know, I'm possible that I could do IT. I can't even believe that I'm actually catching on to this platform. And I think that's some good thing about Salesforce that, you know, military spouses could do it. Anybody could do it because it's very easy to learn. So definitely don't let it discourage you because I'm still amazed every day. I don't take it for granted that, you know, I could do this.
So what do you hate about your job?
What do I hate?
Okay, what do you not like the most about your job?
It can get overwhelming. It really can. And if I didn't go through a company like Accenture, which they do a lot of learning, they do a lot of training, they kind of threw you in. I don't think I would have been as good and I would have been floating as I am over in Booz Allen, because when I got to Booz Allen, they kind of just like, hey, you know, they didn't even put me through the training for Salesforce, so that threw me onto a project. And thankfully, I was in a high performing team. That helped immensely. And so it could get overwhelming a lot if you're not used to the platform, and you just have to just stick with it. Doing the trailheads, just being familiar with the platform, even that just helps. And doing the testing, you got to learn as much as the developer. You could just easily just look at something and say, you know, this wasn't working yesterday, or this was working today. I don't know what's going on, you know? So you have to be on it when it comes to knowing the platform. So I would say it's just a little overwhelming and you're constantly on overload sometimes, but once you get it, it's like, you know, easy.
So what advice would you give to all of us newly transitioning into Salesforce?
Don't give up, and don't let the fact that if you don't have your cert, don't let that stop you. And if you have your cert, and just don't think it's something wrong with me. You just have to constantly just keep pressing forward, keep applying, keep networking. It's there, and they're always looking for Salesforce. And just be open. You gotta kind of step out of your comfort zone if you want to make changes, if you want to see changes. And that's what I did. I'm so glad I did. And I'm going to continue just stepping out of that comfort zone because this was a big leap and my career is just shot. And I'm so excited. I'm so glad that I decided to give it a chance.
We have a couple questions in the chat. Does your team or the management seem like they are moving towards wanting to go back to the office, or are they comfortable with the remote work?
They are very comfortable, and I am very comfortable with them. most of everyone that I work with, like Lori, I work with Lori, and she's in Maine. And then most of the people, everybody else is in like California and Florida. And that's a great way of getting talent from all over the US. So definitely it's a perk. And I'm just thankful that I even had the opportunity.
Can we pause for a while to take a screenshot?
Sure.
And if people can just turn on their cameras, that would be nice. How about Noel, Chelsea? I guess they don't want to. The camera is shy. Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you.
Yeah. Hi, this is Chelsea. I'm sorry. I'm like getting off work, walking the dog. So I'm kind of multitasking here. But I really enjoyed this. I do have a question because you mentioned that you wanted to get a cert. Are you going to sit for certification? What do you think your first certification is going to be for
Chelsea,
your role that will help you? Yes.
Chelsea, we're gonna take a screenshot first, and then we'll continue with the Q&A. Okay.
Oh,
All right. All right. Are you all ready? 3, 2, 1. All right. I don't like the way I look, but that's all right. All right, we can. Because I'm not looking at the camera.
So we have questions about certification. Which certification are you going to take? And did you get the Agile or Scrum experience before you went to Booz Allen?
The first Salesforce cert that I'm gonna work towards is the admin. I know now I see that there's one that's before the admin, which would have been great because only when I started working on the platform did I really started understanding it. So I think getting the pre would be probably beneficial, but since I've been kind of working the platform, I need to set time aside to get the admin cert. And what was the next question about?
So I want to just say real quick, I just think it's amazing that you don't have your cert yet and like you have been doing so well. And it is just like blowing my mind over here.
Don't take it for granted, for real. It's that experience that really, I really must say that experience really helped me because before, even without the cert, that's all they said, no, you didn't have the cert. So, after I got, in that for the experience, those 3 years, that really helped because I was thrown into like 3 projects and it was really good projects. So you learn a lot because one of the projects I started from scratch from day 1 with that project. And that's when I wanted to stay on board. I actually got offered to my old supervisor in Accenture wanted me back in the first project I was on, but I wanted to stay on this project because it's from the beginning and I wanted to see how we build a platform from the start to the finish. I'm so glad because that helped me so much in Booz Allen. So I don't know if I'm a different type of, story, but I think it's possible. Once you just keep that focus, I think it could be done.
Yeah. So one of the questions was, so you were talking about projects at Booz Allen. They want to know, did you do the Agile or the Scrum? Did you have experience with project management before Booz Allen?
Not at all. Not at all. I didn't know what it was. And so that's another thing that was good about Accenture being the first position and the first job that I had, because they do a lot of training over there. So they sent us to Agile classes. I didn't even know anything about that. And that was so beneficial because I would just say, basically Accenture gave me the training wheels. And now that I had the training wheels and I had the experience, I could move on to the bigger companies like Booz Allen. And who knows, one day I could get to Google, Facebook, you never know. But definitely, I can't say anything too bad about Accenture because they gave me the basics, everything about Agile, everything about Salesforce, everything about being on a project. So that was really helpful too. But so also, you could probably like Google and do research. That helps too.
So Accenture didn't push you to get your cert while you were there for the 2 years?
They did. But because it was just so intense and I didn't know anything about Salesforce, it was just so much to learn. And finally, I was like, I need to put put it aside, and they kept throwing me on these other projects. There was just so much to learn, but they did, and they do. And I'm one of the lucky ones, but honestly, I would definitely get my cert, and then that will help. Maybe that might open the doors to get some experience as well. But yeah, I'm a different story, but yeah, definitely, if you had a choice, get the cert.
So there are some questions about testing. I know you mentioned a few things about testing. Can you give some examples of testing? How are you assigned to test certain things? How do you document the results? And what does it look like for you when you test?
Yes. One of the projects I was on, we were working on the retirement for, retirees, medical, even like the president retirees, the system that they use. So what we did is they were transporting everything into Salesforce. So we basically build it from scratch, just a way for anyone, like if anybody called in, Salesforce would be able to capture the calls, anything with documentation. It keeps everything where the money, which account, which one they're moving to. So everything dealing with that, that's what we did. If one of the things with testing is you got to make sure that you know the entire platform. Sometimes when you finish building in one platform and then you have to move it to another environment for you to test, sometimes it doesn't work. So you have to definitely be observant. You have to do a great attention to detail, because working on the platform as a tester all day long, you're even seeing things more than the dev does. So I'll be able to go into a platform and say, you know what, this doesn't look right. Why is this not, why aren't they capturing this? They was capturing before it went into this environment. So attention to detail, making sure that you're always talking to the devs. That's basically what the testing usually involves. But once you're in the environment, you learn it, you start learning the platform. And I think that's gonna help me get my cert, to be honest. Because jumping in just into the Salesforce, it was just so overwhelming. Now that I'm actually working on the platform every day, testing, I think it's gonna help tremendously.
Yeah. So last question, also from Andrew. He wants to know, he said, you mentioned working overtime. He says, does that happen a lot? Is there additional compensation? I was thinking that same thing. And can you choose not to work overtime?
When I worked at Accenture, they try not to make you do overtime, and you are compensated with it. Honestly, I love working on the platform so much that, I'm just so involved. I want it to be done. I want to troubleshoot. I want to find the answers, So it didn't really bother me. And yes, we were compensated for it. Does it happen often? I wouldn't say it does, but I mean, when you're compensated about it, I don't, I'm not complaining too much. Honestly, Salesforce is such an easy, and I'm just so, I love it, that it's not really it doesn't really bother me to actually work overtime, because I love testing. I love troubleshooting with developers. I love making sure that, we got it right. It works now, it's just like, it's like a high for me. So I actually love it. I love it.
I'm thinking about, I'm working on the Health Cloud Super Badge, and I was stuck on like challenge number 5 for like 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
And this was just yesterday, and I kept saying, Amanda, just get up, just take a break. And I would walk away, and then I would come back like, no, I'm gonna conquer this.
Yeah.
6 hours later.
That's how I feel with testing, to be honest. Honestly, because I love to troubleshoot, and when you get it, how excited you are that you actually figured it out. So who knew that, I was able to really like IT. But yeah, if you like that, Salesforce is for you, getting into IT.
I'll take the overtime in that case.
Correct.
All right. I think, okay, you feel like Einstein won. Oh, okay, yeah. I think that's all our questions. Does anybody want to come off mute and ask any questions that we didn't ask?
Yeah, people, you can unmute. And just a reminder, if you want to win in the raffle, this brand new Logitech webcam, just put your name in the chat box and I'll put it in the raffle thingy. All right, ask away if you have questions, people. Go on mute, unmute yourself.
I have a quick question.
Awesome.
Hello, everyone. So I've been an LPN for 16 years. So, you know, at that point, really feeling the burnout. And I've been dabbling in the trailheads probably since, I think, last May. Anyhow, when I'm like, you know, out and looking at jobs, just seeing what's out there and looking at different opportunities, I do get a little discouraged when some employers are looking for a degree. I do not have a degree, so I may have missed it in the beginning because I jumped on a little late. Where do you stand with that?
I do have a degree, but I don't think it's necessary. Honestly, I would say the experience is necessary. Not saying anything about the not getting the cert, but the experience is necessary. I think the main thing is the experience and then the networking. I think there are doors. Don't let it discourage you, because I was discouraged as well. Even with a degree, they still said, oh, well, you don't have the cert. Oh, well, you know, you don't have the experience. Just start surrounding yourself with the community, start reaching out, start networking. Eventually it's gonna fit, and just keep doing those trailheads. You'll start understanding it, and definitely work towards the cert as well. But don't be discouraged, because it's there. You just have to just constantly grind. It's a grind, that's for sure.
Thank you so much.
And I do understand about the burnout, because I've been seeing that lately. In fact, just yesterday I read it that a lot of nurses are losing a lot of nurses, unfortunately, because of the burnt out. So I do understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
But if you could do healthcare, you could definitely do IT. That's for sure.
I am curious. I seem to, from what you said about the OT, it seems to me that it's self-inflicted.
It can be.
So do you actually have a choice to, okay, it's 8 hours, I'm going to continue tomorrow? And what happens if you don't make it to the deadline?
And when I was working, I haven't encountered it here yet, but when I was working at Accenture, there was the time I think the time that it was the most stressful is when we were done with all the sprints and the platform was about to go live, meaning that in like a couple of weeks, they'll be able to use the platform that we built. That was the most stressful, because we were going 2 weeks straight working constant hours because things kept breaking. Things needed to be retested. I was totally burnt out. But other than that time, the sprints, you kind of get it's 2 week sprints. So it's kind of like in your face, 2 weeks. Then you get a little break, you do test scripts, you write everything, you have your meetings, then you go back. And so it's a constant, you know, you're riding the bike uphill, So, but when it's coming to go live, I think that's the most stressful.
Someone asked, do you guys celebrate after each software release?
Yes, we do. we have like, we have get-togethers on the computer. We have meetings, and the company does Grubhub. I know that was in Accenture. I haven't experienced that here yet at Booz, but yeah, it's a relief, and you feel so accomplished because you actually built something, and it's like a higher purpose. You're building for like retirees, people that were deployed, people that went to Afghanistan, and they're doing a retirement. So it's a bigger picture than just, well, we're just building Salesforce, and that's, I think, that's another thing that's from healthcare. You feel accomplished. You save a life. You help somebody. You feel accomplished. So I guess you can transition to that. You actually, it's a bigger purpose. You're not just building just to build. You're building to help families. You're building to help individuals. So that's the correlation between healthcare and IT as well.
Okay, does anyone else have Any questions? Kai, oh yeah, that was the question that was last.
Yeah, I asked
Sorry.
about team celebration, to understand our purpose of testing. I love it. Thank you.
Do you do any building of your own, or is it literally just it's built and you test and you're just always giving feedback on other people's builds?
Correct. With the sprints, we do it in batches. We're just presenting in batches. So once we do the batch, we test. Once we do that, we test. But because I'm nosy and I'm curious, I always ask the dev, like, can you show me how to do that? Can you show me what you did? Can you show me why is it working like this? To kind of keep my brain moving, because who knows, one day I want to go to the next level. Because I know in this position right here, we have one tester, and he's the one that supplies the data for all the testing. So in my mind, I need to get on that, because that's going to help my resume. I'm constantly always thinking, what can I add to my resume to make me, competitive in this field?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
And a very good answer. And I don't know if it will help cause. So depending on the role, that's what you'll do. You're a BA, you kind of get involved with creating the user stories and refining the acceptance criteria. And then if you're a solution engineer like I am, I do like the declarative developing. And then we have developers who do the programmatic developing. And then after the developers try to do their magic, and then the testers put the magic in testing and see if it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. But yeah, that's a good thing to do, to ask the developers how they configured it, and maybe ask what are we trying to see here? But yeah, that's a part to go to the acceptance criteria, right? And see, okay, I should be able to do this. Let's see.
That's what I like about IT. You're constantly learning. You're never bored. There's not a day that I've been in IT that went by that I didn't learn something new. And that's amazing to me, because I came from the Air Force where we're constantly testing, we're constantly learning, we constantly have to test to get to the next rank. So with IT, every day I'm learning something new. Every day I'm in the learning atmosphere. So you're constantly thinking, you're constantly learning, you're constantly growing.
So far, it has been a really, really good discussion. And I enjoyed the active participation of our audience. So now, anyone else? Last call for questions. Anyone else has any question? Yes, if not, we will proceed with the raffle.
I'll probably have more later for you. I don't have any at the moment, but I'm very intrigued by this role in particular. However, it's described in one of our last meetings where they said your job is to break stuff.
Yes.
Sure it holds that. I'm not by nature into breaking things, but I like the idea of testing and iterating and just always getting the best version of something. And working in the ER, we're always kind of looking for what could go wrong, what's going wrong. That's kind of our brain. I get in trouble for that at home, where I'm maybe not praising my wife as much as I'm critiquing her. So it'd be nice to maybe have a role that meets that skill better, where it's like, this is, and I imagine you have to have a gracious way to approach the developers. I mean, I'm sure it's part of work just to kind of say, but you don't want to offend them. I'm
correct.
Describe what's going on.
I definitely have rapport with the devs. Definitely, because they're gonna be your best friend,
right?
Constantly, and you have to tell them, hey, this. And the ones I've worked with, they're like, they're really open to it. Like they want to get the job done. They want to make sure that they're doing it correctly, So they don't mind. I've learned, but you definitely is an out of box type of thinking you have to have, because you got to think, how can I break this? What can they do? So you're always constantly, it's intriguing. I'm not bored. I'm never bored. And all the other positions I've had, I've always got bored. And I need to know that, like, checking in patients, you're constantly checking in patients, there's no end to it. At least I know that I'm working to something that's gonna end. I get to move on to the next project. If you get bored easily, this is a job for you. You're constantly growing and learning. And then you get sucked in and then you can't even get out because you're just so, it's a good thing to have, trust.
And it's better to do that before it's in production,
Right.
while you're still in the
Definitely.
sandbox.
So they're very open and they want to know, they want to make sure, that it works. So they're not offended.
Better to offend them than the end users, right?
I know, than to get offended when it goes to production and fails.
But no, they don't get offended.
No.
All right, shall we proceed with our raffle? I will share my screen. Can you see the wheel of names here? Okay, we are going to start spinning. Congratulations, Jessica. Well, you can DM me on LinkedIn for your mailing address so I can send it to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Dental claims as we do this meeting.
Can you imagine you're the one with no name on your when I see iPhone and you're the one who won.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I had a hard time getting logged in, so.
All right, congratulations. I'll stop if I can find it. Stop sharing. Okay, so thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Yoruba and Amanda, for doing this. It's such a pleasure listening to what you had to share.
Thank you.
I learned a lot too.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for participating, for coming to this session. I really appreciate your time. And I hope you also appreciated what you got from this session.
Yes.
Keep plugging in, plugging
Yeah.
away.
Well, thank you so
All
much.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You all have a great night, evening, morning, wherever you are.
You too.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.